Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So if this is the first time you're watching my video, thank you for subscribing, thank you for tuning in. So today's video is going to be about guides to healthy relaxed hair. So think of this, there are 7 of them, so I have 7 guides for healthy relaxed hair. So think of these guys are your commandments, so your 7 commandments for healthy relaxed hair. So let's go. So number one is to reduce chemical treatments. You've probably heard these two terms used interchangeably, relaxing or Texlaxing. So relaxing is basically you have a chemical, usually lye or no lye relaxer, and you apply it to your hair, and what the chemical pretty much does is that it relaxes the texture of your hair. So it relaxes the curly, coily texture of your hair, and the result is a thinner and straighter hair. Texlaxing, think of it as 2 words: textured relaxed hair. So, and to get a Texlaxed hair, you either leave the relaxer on for a shorter period of time, or you put in some oils to weaken the potency of the chemical relaxer. So below are some guides to keep in mind when it comes to reducing the chemical, when it comes to relaxer. Number 1 is to if you're new to hair journey, number 1 is to try to only relax your hair every 10 to 12 weeks, or every 5 times a year. When I do my regimen, I tend to go by weeks, so try to reduce your chemical usage to every 10 to 12 weeks, or every 10 to 12 weeks, or 5 times a year. Another thing to keep in mind is that there's no such thing as a chemical that's good for your hair. There's no such thing as a relaxer that's good for your hair. And I know I've seen so many different commercials that goes like, oh, this chemical will do this to your hair, that chemical will do that to your hair. When they're relaxing the texture of your hair, what they do is they have to break the bonds, the protein bonds in your hair. And in that breaking of bonds, you end up losing a lot of the protein in your hair. So the protein that gives your hair that rigid coarseness, you end up losing most of them. So you go with like thicker, coarser hair to thinner, straighter hair. So for this reason, relaxed hair, it's much weaker than natural hair. So do not believe the hype that there's such thing as a relaxer that's good for the hair. Keep that in mind. And another thing to keep in mind is this, that it is to avoid back-to-back relaxing. And what does this mean? Or avoid over-relaxing. And what does this mean? This is basically, and this is why stretching your relaxer is important. So stretching when you're starting off your hair journey, I highly recommend stretching for 10 to 12 weeks if you're starting off, or 10 to 12 weeks if you're starting off, or 5 times a year. And I also have a regimen up on the blog like an infographic up on the blog to help you with that, so you should really check it out. Now what over relaxing does is that if you relax your hair too frequently or too quickly, is that you don't see the line of demarcation. And what the line of demarcation is basically that line between your natural hair, where your natural hair and your relaxed hair meet. So avoid over relaxing, because the more you relax the hair strand, the more protein you're shaving off that hair strand, and the thinner and the weaker the hair will get. So avoid doing this. Go see a stylist if you relax your hair, or if you self-relax and you experience a burn or relaxer burn. So please go see a stylist. And when I say go see a stylist, this is someone that you've thoroughly researched, and you've seen their work, and you've seen that they do a great job, and you've heard great things about them. So don't just pick any stylist because they say they're professional. That doesn't necessarily mean they're professional. So make sure you do your research before going to a stylist. Do not color or bleach your hair if your hair is in a relaxed state. Now know that based on what I talked about before, because your hair is relaxed, it's in a much weaker state. So applying a very harsh process such as coloring your hair or bleaching your hair will permanently damage your hair, in that your hair will never recover. You actually have to chop off your hair. So be very careful. I repeat, do not color or bleach your hair if your hair is relaxed. Number 2 is to wash your hair regularly. Now, if you don't do anything from this list, and if you just do this part, you are 60% of your way to having healthy relaxed hair. And the reason for this is that this is what made the huge difference in my hair when I started my hair journey. And in this process, you have the wash, you have the shampoo, you have sulfur-free shampoo, you have the pre-wash, also known as the pre-pull, you have the deep conditioning, you have protein conditioning, you have rinse. Now this process is very detailed, so which is why I'll have a whole separate video for that, but I'll just do a summary of some important parts of it. Is that washings, for example, pre-pull or pre-wash is basically any sort of pre-treatment that you put in your hair before you apply shampoo. What a deep conditioner does is that it hydrates your hair, it moisturizes and hydrates your hair, and it restores the elasticity, i.e. the stretchiness of your hair. What a protein conditioner does is that it strengthens your hair, it returns the protein back to your hair. If you remember from the previous guide, that when you relax your hair you lose a lot of protein in your hair. So what a protein conditioner does is that it restores protein back into your hair. So this process, again, like I said, is very detailed. You should really check out the guide that the infographic that I created, and again, you should read up on the guide. You get more information from that. And again, I'll have a separate video. And another thing to keep in mind when it comes to deep conditioning and protein conditioning is that a deep conditioning, they usually have the word a synonym of water, so hydrating, moisturizing. For protein conditioners, they usually have the prefix re in them, so restructuring, replenishing, reconstructive. So when you see those words in a conditioner, those are protein conditioners. So those are just a few things to keep in mind. Number three is to reduce heat usage. Now, I said reduce heat usage, I don't say eliminate heat. And the reason for this is that this is a mistake that I made when I started my hair journey. I totally cut off heat, and it was just a nightmare because my hair wasn't used to not using heat. So when I wash my hair and when I detangle, like, oh my god, it's just such a nightmare detangling. So do not completely cut off heat, just to reduce the heat usage. So let's say you use heat every day, try to reduce it to like once a week. And this is really important, especially to reduce heat if you want thicker relaxed hair, like if you want a thicker and more moisturized relaxed hair. So it's very important that you reduce heat usage. And now when it comes to heat, when I'm talking about heat, I'm talking about like blow dryer, flat iron, curling irons. Those are direct heat, that's what I'm talking about. Make sure before you use any type of heat, make sure you always use a heat protectant. So a heat protectant usually comes in a spray bottle or a serum. I use a serum because I just find that it protects my hair better. And another thing to keep in mind is that try to use the low settings on those tools. For example, for me, when I only blow dry my hair, I try to avoid flat ironing my hair. But if you love to flat iron your hair, again, remember to use heat protectant. I only blow dry my hair, and the only time I ever flat iron my hair usually when I go to a stylist. And I noticed because of that, my hair is thicker, my hair is fuller. And also when I blow dry my hair, I take the heat and I apply it to my palm. And if the heat is way too hot for my palm, then it's way too hot for my hair. So that's how I determine the degree of the intensity of the heat from my hair. Also, one more thing to consider when using heat is to make sure your tools are ceramic coated, especially your flat irons. Make sure they're ceramic coated. If the ceramics are already scratching off, it's best for you to get a new one because they're meant to protect you from overusing heat.